Okay, today we're talking to Miriam Mason-Sesay in Sierra Leone. Hi, Miriam.
Hi, Veronica.
Miriam was a teacher in the United Kingdom before she went to Sierra Leone a while ago, and I would love for you to tell us how it all happened, how you came from the UK to Sierra Leone, and which context are you now in?
I came to Sierra Leone for the first time to visit in '97 because my brother had recruited me as one of the fundraisers for a project that he had started with a friend after visiting the country and finding so many young people thirsty for education but without the means to access it. And they started paying, we all started paying school fees for a handful of kids. So we started with about 8. By the time I came to visit, there were about 100, and I think at the height of it, about 150 children that we were paying school fees for. When I came in '97, I started to realize that what we were paying for was really not worth having. The quality was really challenging, and we weren't changing lives. So either we should stop, or we should look at the quality of what we were doing and, rethink. So that's when we started working towards me coming out to Sierra Leone. And I was due to come in '99, and then the war was going on and on. So I came out in eventually July 2000 and started the picture of naivety, started our first junior secondary school with 20 kids on the back veranda of a rented house.
You have been a teacher in the UK for 8 years at that point, but
Yes,
as I understand,
teaching French in two secondary schools, yes.
and as far as I understand, you had not been a head of school before.
No, I'd been head of department, but not head of school, that's right. Yes.
So when you started a school in this country that is very different from the country you were born in, how did you know what to do?
How did I know what to do? I didn't. I made it up. I was very concerned about the rote learning approach, and so I started with trying to get literacy skills in place for all of our learners, and then to get them working independently. Although the exam system here is it requires enormous amounts of content learning. We've always been trying to do more than just, regurgitation. So to create opportunities for other types of learning and, developing critical thinking and so on in a more holistic approach. So the demands of the exams hamper, but I'd like to think they haven't stopped us actually developing a broader approach. But a lot of our teaching is through independent working through pre-prepared materials.
You try to fulfill the requirements of Sierra Leone while also bringing in the ideas that from the UK and your own ideas about teaching values and teaching life skills. Is that right?
Absolutely. So we won't be taken seriously as a school that anybody wants to come to unless we can be successful within the measures that exist here. So, and I won't help my youngsters access any further education or job opportunities unless they can be recognized, unless their successes are recognizable. And that limits us, but, it's a recognized thing. I know that we have to conform to that as much as possible. But we have always tried to do more than that. And the values-led piece that you mentioned is, to me, completely crucial. One of our key challenges in Sierra Leone, and one of the things I think keeps us in significant poverty, is the levels of corruption and the lack of expectation of integrity in public life, in professional life, even to some extent in personal life. So we have really tried to create a culture within each school and within the whole EducAid community of where that's normal. That's normal. You are the freak, you're the odd one out if you cheat, if you cooperate with any sort of corruption or dishonesty. And so people are proud of themselves for being different, and that there is this counterculture approach, which is fantastic. That's the beginnings of, being able to change more broadly,
I know that
to have schools that see that as normal.
I know that you're very successful with your schools. You started with 20 students, and now you have more than 3,000 students in 9 schools and 190 teachers under your care. How did your school develop over the course of the years? When did the self-organized learning come into it?
So they've sort of happened very organically, an opportunity, a relationship, a conversation that has resulted in spread to different places. When I first came, the war was still on, so it wasn't really safe to leave Freetown. So I was based in the capital to start with, but fairly quickly it was then safe to go into the provinces. And the northern province has had more education challenges than the rest of the country, I would say, because they've tended to favour trade over education. So, and that has also had big impacts on girls' education. The women are even more sort of, their rights are even more undermined in the north than elsewhere. So we moved towards the north as a result of, sometimes accidents and bad things, but they created openings. And so now we're on 10 sites, 13 schools on 10 sites, going from 3 years old to 30 years old. But, with this whole big mixture of 3,200 kids.
The academic content is quite important for you and for your students, because they have to get the qualifications to pass the official exams and that. And I know that your students have a 100% pass rate for math exams, while the national average is like 3.5%. And at the same time, you get them to be engaged in the community and help solve community problems.
One of our values is the pursuit of excellence. So we've got our 6 values, and one of them is the pursuit of excellence. So that is in everything we're doing. If we're doing our academics, we do them excellently. I don't want, if you're capable of a C grade, then I want you to get your C grade. Don't be satisfied with D. If you're capable of an A, then don't be satisfied with a B. So push for excellence in whatever you're doing. However, the motivation has to be towards this bigger picture. So our vision is a dignified, democratic and prosperous Sierra Leone where poverty is eradicated by educated citizens. And that is what we are trying to drive at all the time in all that we're doing. So yes, each student from class 6 in primary upwards takes 2 or 3 weeks a year at least to do community service. So either working in a primary school around, or working in our accelerated learning classes for girls. So that's the Women's Project. So they're doing like primary level work, or going into the hospital, or doing some agricultural service, or whatever it is, but some sort of putback from where they've received. And that is a crucial part of how we see what we're doing. Other values would include building community resilience. So, for example, our relationships with the community around us meant that during Ebola, we were in a position to, during the Ebola crisis, we were in a position to help the community put in place appropriate bylaws that kept them all safe. We had no cases of Ebola in any of the communities where we work. And that was because we were a trusted voice at a time in that there were very few trusted voices. The authorities, the relationships between the people and the authorities are so difficult that people weren't expecting the authorities to be telling them the truth. So when they were saying the best thing to do is go to the treatment centre for assessment and for treatment, they didn't believe them. And there was real panic and fear. Port Loco youngsters, so people around us, turning the ambulance over because you're not putting my mother in there and taking her to that place. If you see anybody come out alive, right, well, you're not taking her in there to kill her. And this was the thing. Because of our relationships that we already established, we were able to actually sort of help people with our ABC, avoid body contact. And if you do that, you can't get it. And the thing about not having strangers come and stay. So naturally, people in Sierra Leone are very hospitable. They're very warm. They're very kind. It goes completely against the culture here to say, sorry, you're ill, don't stay. But they put those bylaws in place and stayed safe. Another one of our values is building citizenship values, so that we are encouraging all of our youngsters to really see themselves as part of a bigger picture, not just me. It's about we. It's not about me. And that they're not just getting their education for themselves. And it's a rhetoric that they come back to us with. You know, I'm not just doing this for myself, I'm doing this for the country. I'm not just doing this for myself, I'm doing this for my family, for my community. I know where I was, I know where I come from. I want to make sure that other young people don't have to go through what I had to get through to get to this point, and so on. So all of those things are a real crucial part of the way we work. Yes, I want A stars, I want A1s, I want top grades, but not unless the heart's in the right place.
More than many other teachers I know, you are in an area where the global goals are actually like part of your everyday life. Fighting poverty, fighting hunger, working for quality education for everyone is pretty much your agenda. Are the goals known in Sierra Leone? Are your students aware they are also fighting for the global goals?
There are a few big sort of posters around. It's part of NGO speak. It's not really part of the day-to-day population's rhetoric, I wouldn't say. I mean, there's talk about anti-corruption, there's talk about poverty, there's talk about ending hunger, there's talk about, you know, the schools aren't working properly and we need to get decent education. There's not so much consciousness that we are part of a global movement to get these certain targets.
Because you are among the most contributing people, I would think, with all these goals that are like naturally connected to the content, the context you're teaching.
Yes, they are. My concern, I think, is with a lot of the aid whole thing. I mean, we are, as a country, recipients of masses of aid, but we're 8th poorest country in the world. You know, it's not hitting the ground. It's not being wisely used. And so I without wishing to seem arrogant, you know, we're trying to be different from the general NGO thing that's going on, and to really look at the lives that we're working with, and make sure, you know, we don't live big lives and spend our aid money on hotel bills. We spend it on, you know, creating materials and feeding our kids, and, you know, it's we get a pretty good bang for your buck with what we're trying to do, and so that aid money actually achieves its purpose. It's become such a big industry, the whole aid thing, and there's not, I get very worried about the lack of concern for real efficiency and effectiveness and change. You know, where's the impact? How can we possibly be receiving $400 to $500 million a year for a population of 6 to 7 million, and we're still 8th poorest? It's not getting where it should get. You know, it's being spent on consultants and the surface. The beneficiaries are the workers, not the beneficiaries. So I mean, that's kind of a different topic, but that whole, the development goals and all of that stuff, yes, they're not wrong things, but that whole world is a world that we don't really spend a lot of time interacting with. I'm more concerned with if I find a teacher or an educator who's buzzing about education ideas, because I do think education is where we're going to really make a difference, because that's when we've got people who are unable to then solve their own problems. You know, not have their problems fixed for them with clever solutions that they don't even understand, and for a problem they didn't know they had, and, you know, all of this sort of thing. You know, education is a different type of aid, I think. You know, you and I didn't afford our own education. We were aided to get an education. No child who can pay for their own education wherever they are in the world. You know, and the point is to make it quality education, and then that aid that's not being provided here by the government or, you know, by the authorities, so that that aid does what the government might be doing. And then you've got individuals, you've got groups of individuals who can start to say, okay, we're going to set the agenda, we're going to decide what the goals are, we're going to decide where we want to tackle first, you know, we're going to be engineers and fix this, we're going to be technology experts and come up with creative solutions to that, we're going to be farmers, we're going to be doctors, you know, we're going to fix some of it. We have all of those problems, but if you tackle education, they fix themselves, I think.
If you work for change, you have to work with boundaries in people's heads, like, because they have different expectations, and then they are going to go through a change with you. Do you have an idea of, like, what's it, like a perfect first lesson for you, or perfect first encounter with new students? I know there's no such thing as perfect. We all know that,
but we do spend time with our youngsters doing a sort of orientation about our vision. So this is, you know, if this is what you want, the Sierra Leone you want to be part of building, this dignified, democratic, prosperous Sierra Leone, then this is what we're targeting. So we spend time talking about all our values and that vision, and then we start talking about how we're going to get towards that. But that's where we start, is with that vision, and trying to get youngsters to realize that in acquiring an education, it's not just about me, it's about being part of achieving that vision.
You said that 2/3 of your staff are former students, right?
Yes, at least. I'm not sure what the numbers are at the minute. It sort of changes and it goes up each year. Yeah.
Does that make it easier because they are already connected with the spirit? They already know where this is heading?
Absolutely. So one, they understand the way of working, which is very unlike any other school here, and is working through pre-prepared materials, and they understand the systems, and they understand the requirements, and, you know, where you need to get to by when, and all of that. But also their commitments to what we are doing. They're part of a family. They've grown up in this family. The people they're teaching are their friends and younger sisters and brothers. So there is a very different sort of atmosphere. So often teachers feel very undermined in this country and, you know, not valued. And so they're going to school to sell their fish balls and their donut cakes and make a bit of cash, and to recruit for their private lessons, not in the belief that they're really building something exciting and they're part of this exciting vision and blah, blah, blah. So we do find that there is a completely different level of commitment and excitement about what they're doing. They're proud of what they're doing, proud of the work they're doing. When we celebrated Teachers' Day in October, we were the only schools to do so that I'm aware of. But, you know, our teachers were really proud of what they were doing, and the youngsters, you know, feeding back and saying, you know, thank you, you changed my life. If it wasn't for you, I don't know where I'd be. My friends that I was in primary school are either, you know, motorbike riders, with the motorbike taxis that we have here, motorbike riders, or they're in prison, or they're dead. And look at me, you know, I know where I'm heading, I know I've got a future, and this sort of thing. And, you know, it was moving, it was exciting.
You mentioned the 6 principles that you and your staff commit to, and I think
yes.
you mentioned 2 of them. What are the other 4?
So we have safety for all, and that's so thinking about all sorts of child protection issues and welfare issues. equality of particularly gender equality, but equality of everybody, leadership thinking and behaviour, citizenship values, community resilience, and pursuit of excellence. So those are our 6 cross-cutting themes. Whatever we're doing, we want to be including those.
And do you find that depending on what the situation in the school is, one of those principles becomes stronger than others?
Sorry, I didn't quite catch your question.
Like, depending on the situation, the changing situation in the country or in the school, does one of the principles sometimes get stronger than the others, so to speak, is more in the foreground of the actions?
Well, I mean, it changes as well because we decide, oh, right, we need to pay a bit more attention to this. So, for example, last month, everybody was looking at the pursuit of excellence. This month, we're doing stuff on equality. So it's yes, I mean, we're trying to have them across everything, but yes, we pick up different ones and focus on them, and each school is also focusing on a different one. So we've signed our commitment on big banners to them, and they're then going round all the schools and then spending time looking at each one, and then the school community sign up and really recommit themselves to each value and so on, so that they are very much part of our day-to-day rhetoric, but also behaviours, and we're trying to police ourselves and make sure we don't slip from those ideals.
When you say equality was in the centre of attention last month, what were the activities that you did?
So we have just instated an equality team. We have double the national average in terms of girls' participation, but we are aware that we are still off target in terms of achievement. We started our Girls' Safe House for our live-in primary school girls because we were aware that many of the issues, you're fighting such a lot of societal prejudices that the girls have acquired if you only tackle it later on. So the Safe House is about, for all of our little live-in girls in the primary school, we've got one residential primary school, really getting the message that, the sky's the limit, that they can do anything, that they're strong, they're beautiful, they're capable, whatever, and that's their norm. But we still find that, society's pressures are massive. I can't imagine that your girls would ever say to you, well, you can't really expect too much from us because we're only girls and our brains aren't as good as the boys. And we literally have girls that will say that of themselves, and so there's that level of lack of confidence and lack of self-awareness about what they're capable of that we are tackling. So we've just instated a new equality team. One of our girls who came from the Women's Project, that accelerated learning group for girls who are secondary age but below secondary standard, that's an alternative route in. She's now just qualified, graduated from university in development studies, and we have a Spanish volunteer, and they're working together on setting up new targets for equality in all of the schools, and really trying to get people. One of the big things we're looking at is to identify our own prejudices, where we believe we're pro-equality, but we're still actually cooperating with the wrong pictures. So it's massive things here. Just every task is gendered. The boys pound the groundnuts and the girls grate them. The boys pound the cassava leaf and the girls slice the leaves. They're just funny little things, but then it becomes a way of working of like, they go that direction, we go that direction. And so we're trying to get rid of all of those sort of gendered tasks, and spot our cooperation with prejudice, so that we can then, over the next 3 years, we've got a big sort of project to drive for equality of not just access to school, but participation and achievement.
I think that's a topic that is relevant in like all countries of the world to have like
Sadly so.
equality, like
Sadly so.
Mm.
I mean, we have extraordinary statistics here. Between 80 and 90% still female circumcision. Is it 60% of 18-year-olds are either married, divorced, or widowed? You know, just extraordinary. But you're absolutely right. We're not alone in it.
As a very last point, I would like to talk to you about a part of teaching that I think is very important to you because you are originally a languages teacher, and I know that literacy is very important to you, and you're also in the school library at the moment. How do you, how do you help students with literacy, with reading, with becoming readers, enjoying stories?
It's a big issue here because you've got the big mother language debate. And so our students are mostly working in at least their second, probably their third language when they're coming to school.
Because at school it's all English?
The schools all run in English.
Yeah.
They all have to do all of their lessons in English. But they come from one of 17 different local languages. And then usually people, so if I'm Fula and want to speak to a Timini person, then my medium will be Creole. So Creole being a sort of pidgin English, that has a bit of everything else mixed in as well, but is a stepping stone towards English. So it helps in terms of vocabulary because table is table, but is disastrous in terms of grammar because, for example, tables is tabledom, and so on. So we have big issues with literacy and high quality English because it's not a reading culture, because the languages they grew up in aren't really written languages. They are oral. And so getting people to be excited about the written word and not see it as a chore is a big, big one. But also, it's because reading material is hard to access. You know, and the likelihood of you getting relevant, exciting, well-illustrated children's books, I mean, they're not going to happen in your local language. So it's only going to happen once you get to school, and probably you're going to be in a school. If you're an average Sierra Leonean 6-year-old, you're probably going to be in a school where there are no books, or there are a handful of textbooks. But exciting, lovely, you know, books to love, good luck, you know. So we are trying to give people the tools in terms of phonics, so that a new word isn't a, oh, well, I don't know that one, I give up, so that they can tackle new words, and also, you know, wherever we can, source goods, literacy materials, so reading materials, and we make laminated cards, so that can be sort of more easily distributed and, you know, sort of accessed. Making time every single day for reading. There are reading clubs where we get the teachers to role model being readers and enjoying reading. There are staff literacy sessions, so we continue training the staff in English and literacy, even once they are staff. We don't say, right, okay, you've reached any sort of particular level, stop. But to really have it, we're role modeling lifelong learning, particularly in literacy. We try and have dictionaries with every member of staff. We try and make sure that they have the tools to be continually building and to be excited about enjoying reading as a fun activity that takes you all sorts of different places and expands your imagination and creativity, but also your empathy and your ability to relate to others on beyond my immediate field and so on. So it's key to us in terms of citizenship, as well as a real key tool for every other part of learning.
I'd love to continue talking to you, but we are already running out of time. I'm looking forward to seeing you very soon in person. And I want to say thank you very much. I think what you do for the country, for the students, for your teachers is unbelievable and cannot be measured in any currency of this world. Thank you very much for talking to me, and have a good
Well,
day.
thank you, and thank you for the opportunity. And I look forward to maybe seeing how we can carry on the conversations with your students as well,
We will.
despite the technological challenges.
Okay, see you soon. Bye.
Take care. Lots of love. Bye-bye.